major stories in the sports world that I could address here on my little program. Lionel Messi coming out that La Liga agreeing with Barcelona that the buyout clause has to be honored, upwards of $700 million. I don't want to harp too much on Lionel Messi. I talk a lot about over the last 3 years on my YouTube program saying he should have left Barcelona. I have been vindicated by the ugly divorce that we're seeing right now, and he's going to leave. It's just too ugly of a situation. Lionel Messi spent 17 years in Barcelona, and he put this club on the map. He sold jerseys more so than anyone. He became the biggest brand in world football. All due respect to Cristiano Ronaldo, but you don't see Ronaldo jerseys like you see Lionel Messi on every kid, every adult, every man, every woman, every walk of life. He doesn't owe anything to Barcelona. And a lot of people, when I talked about Messi, would say he's a loyal guy. He wants to end his career there. And I go, well, look, things got really bad and he has to leave now. And what about loyalty now? Loyalty in sports isn't worth it. It's not. It's overrated. Loyalty is not getting paid back. Lionel Messi owes them nothing. He's made a lot of money at Barcelona, but he's made that club and that league a ton. And here we are. I was hoping they would let him go, but we'll talk about it a little bit more, but this is going to be fascinating to see where he ends up. I did want to talk about the biggest sports story. It's not really a sports story. It's about Jacob Blake, young man in Kenosha, Wisconsin, who was shot in the back multiple times by a Kenosha policeman. It set off another massive wave of social unrest, anger, disappointment, you name it. It is disappointing. And anyone who saw that, your heart just sank because you want things to get better. And every time something like this happens, you go back. This was a week unlike any others. The positive are endless. The solidarity between athletes is absolutely breathtaking. The ability that they can use their platform to make these protests, because think about it, you can't make these protests anywhere else. This is the time of COVID, but even if it wasn't COVID, and we've had these shootings in the past, they don't stop making movies. Broadway doesn't shut down. People don't say, we're going to stop serving food at our restaurants. Architects aren't going to render plans, or realtors aren't going to sell houses. It's the athlete that always has to shoulder the burden. And I respect them so much for that because it's a big deal. And I'm going to get into that here momentarily. It all started with NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks, who are in Wisconsin. They decided to make a protest in the NBA playoffs in the Orlando bubble. Then all the other teams stepped aside. And at that point, we all knew that this was going to grow. Major League Baseball games started postponing. Naomi Osaka, tennis player, walked away from her game. Kenny Smith, NBA broadcaster, walked away from the desk. And then it came to Major League Soccer. I was calling Real Salt Lake LAFC, and I was watching it, catching ear of earlier games which were getting canceled, knowing it was coming to our doorstep soon. Soon enough, we heard the news. I was told Mark Anthony Kaye, a young Canadian player who's been very passionate about this, said he was uncomfortable playing. Diego Rossi, another LAFC player, came up and said, if you're not playing, we're not playing. Another indicator of just the remarkable makeup of athletes and being a teammate. It's huge. And now here we are. Canceling games is something you can't do with any regularity. It's so rare that we are here. Just the idea of canceling and rescheduling and do it and travel, it's not just, hey, we're not just going to show up. There's so much more that goes into it, which we are not aware of. And people go, okay, this is an important moment. But we can't keep canceling games. Because in the end, it's the athletes that will pay the price. This is the reality. There are people out there that look at sports as an escape. As I said, it's the one that has to shoulder the burden on the social front. If they see protests, if they see kneeling, it's not that they don't agree with the message, they want to escape. They're going to turn off their TV. They're going to walk away, they're going to shut off, they're going to find something else. They may return as a fan, they may not. Numbers in the NBA are going down. The numbers for Major League Soccer are pretty flat, but these are very socially active leagues, which have given their player base pretty much everything they asked for with regards to what happened after George Floyd. And we've seen it, and it continues with the kneeling before games, with the messaging in the stadium and on the shirts. Those are small things. But there were discussions about maybe the NBA canceling the season. The NBA's lost $1 billion already. If they canceled the season, it'd be another $1 billion. The bottom line would eventually affect the players. If not this group, then the next group, because it becomes less profitable as a league because less people are paying attention. This is the God honest truth about it. You lose fans that way. So you've got to be very succinct about the one time you cancel a game and get the most out of it. I think we have to get everyone involved in this discussion. I have a good friend of mine who's an LA sheriff. I have another friend who's a policeman, and I worry about them. And I know they know it's a tough job, and they're frustrated. And they're in a very, very tough spot. Well, we have to include them in the conversation. And the conversations are going, but we've got to push the conversation forward so that we don't have these episodes. I'm not sure what that is. But there are those out there making a list saying, we want to do this, we want more jobs for black applicants as coaches or executives, opening doors for more black businesses, these kind of things which should help. And I think people now, they have the attention we do. Because if you cancel more games, it's going to make things worse. I also know that there's a lot of young players there, and I'm listening to them, and they have wonderful things to say, but being young limits you to the proper messaging. I'm 48. The generation before me is older. I lean into them for things. We should lean into that older generation because there's been a lot of lecturing, and I understand it's got to be a back and forth. But we've got to seize this moment, and we've got to see how we get the tangible things to move it forward without this, because canceling games will not work as a big-time situation. But there you have it. We'll keep tabs of this. I know sports are so important to so many, and I know people say sports are secondary, and yeah, sure they are. But to me, it's what I do in my life. Sports allows these athletes to have this platform, so it's not secondary. It's not unimportant. And let's remember that. Sports are important for all the reasons we're allowed to do what we have done this last week. Please subscribe to the Soccer O.G., and I'll talk to you very soon.